What's going on, guys? It is a cold, windy day at the range, and I happen to have the whole smorgasbord of the Trijicon offerings here with me today. So I wanted to kind of put them side by side because I was curious myself as to how the new RMR HD and the RCR kind of compared to the more traditional RMR and SRO offerings. So we're going to kind of walk through that. I'll tell you a little bit about each optic, and then we'll get out and do some shooting with them and see if we can understand what the big differences are with the optics. The RMR is the OG. This is an RMR Type 2 3¼ MOA dot. It is super rugged. It's the oldest optic on the table. I think I bought it like 5 years ago. It's got a very small window, a very blue tint, and it's an RMR, you've seen them. The SRO, this is a relatively new SRO. It's a 2.5 MOA SRO, and it's one of the biggest windows on the table. It has less of a blue-green tint, and it is still got kind of the fisheye warping effect. It's been a mainstay in the competitive world for quite a while. What you probably haven't seen is the new RMR HD. The RMR HD is basically a SRO, but it has the owl ears on top of the cowl, and it cantilevers forward. The RMR HD is very much like the SRO in the tint of the glass. It has an available circle dot reticle, which is what this one rocks. One thing that's interesting about this circle dot reticle is you can actually change the brightness of the ring to be brighter or less bright than the dot. And that's a pretty cool feature because I'm not aware of any other optics for pistols that do that. And then finally, coming up to the mailbox optic of the RCR. The RCR is a fantastic optic. It's enclosed. It's kind of weird with how you have to sort of install it. There's a little screw that you push in the side and then use an Allen key to turn like this to torque it down. And then once the screw stops turning, you put the little gauge that they give you and you move it 4 positions, and that's how you get it mounted. Very bizarre. Despite the window looking absolutely massive on this, the deck height is pretty high and the window isn't super big. It's probably bigger than an Acro P2, but not a lot bigger. But it's made by Trijicon, so it's made in America, which a lot of people care about. But this is the Trijicon that solves the enclosed emitter problem. The battery is right on the top. And so let's get into it. So we're gonna start just basically shooting at 3 targets. I got a no shoot. We're shooting about 10 yards and see how that looks. We'll do it freestyle, then I'll do it strong hand only, and I'll do it weak hand only to see if I'm observing a difference with the dot. But before we do that, I do want to thank Optics Planet for helping make this video possible. Without their support, they actually sent in the RCR and the RMR HD. So I could talk about it with you guys because it's a question that's been burning in my mind for a while, and they've been pretty much unavailable. And now they're available, so that's pretty cool. So thanks to Optics Planet for supporting the channel. All right, we're here at about 10 yards. I've got the guns and we're going to take a look. Now, these guns are all very different, so we're not going to actually play for time. I am gonna react to a beep, but realistically, the platforms are all different, and one of them is a C2, which is an aluminum gun, and they're just very different, so we're not gauging the shootability, just sort of the subjective feel of how the sight pictures work and how I can kind of drive the gun. All right, we've got the Staccato C2 with the RMR HD first. The reticle brightness is good. Let's see what we can do. We'll just go from a low ready. Honestly, this big old circle dot reticle works pretty well. It's a little bit too bright. We'll do it with one hand on the gun. The circle dot reticle, I know that I generally don't prefer them, but this is actually pretty easy. Let's go with weak hand only. Quite like how that RCR shoots. That's all alphas, 2 Charlies, all alphas. So good reticle, good dot. All right, we've got the RCR ready to rock and roll. That's okay, that's not bad. Strong hand, let's go. I can say that the huge hood, it seems easier to lose the dot kind of high if I didn't return the gun all the way. The RCR, it was not as easy to keep tabs on where the dot was than with the RMR HD. Let's go support hand only. I can say that I think I prefer the RMR HD over the RCR sort of sight picture. That big old bezel is just, it's kind of distracting. I do like the fact it's enclosed. Let's see if it gets a ghost dot. It doesn't get a ghost dot, which is nice. So there we go. All right, the SRO, which I am well familiar with. SRO is just great. I mean, it's one of the most popular dots for a reason, but it does, yeah, it gets a ghost dot with the low angle of the sun. You know, it is what it is. People are aware of it at this point. Let's go strong hand only. Ah, the wind. Fuck off, wind. The wind knocked over my targets. Let's try that again. Strong. Is it going to do it again? No. Stop it. Stop it. All right, that went well. Support hand. All right, I got a little crazy on the trigger pull and managed to tag the no-shoot pulling it down, but it worked fine in both hands. SRO is a great optic, great, very shootable window. OG RMR ready to rock. Let's see, does it get a ghost dot? No, it doesn't really get a ghost dot, but it does have the smallest window by quite a bit. And well, let's just see how it goes. I'm a fan of this gun. This dot is also awesome. Kind of. That's too hot, actually. Let's turn it down a bit. Let's see how it goes strong hand only. The dot is a little more squirrely, more difficult than the RCR to keep in the window with support hand. So far, I think the HD with the circle reticle is probably the easiest one to deal with. You can see I lost the dot there in the center target when I was trying to aim. Support hand only. Like, the window's just not very big, and if you've got co-witness irons, it just takes a lot of the window away from you. And that's kind of what you run into with the OG RMR and why a lot of people kind of criticize it. So it's a good, great, reliable dot, but the window does, like with both hands on the gun, it's very easy to keep the dot in the screen. Like, it's not bad. But at the same time, when you have a compromised grip, that's when kind of the window and the reticle start to matter. And I would say that the RMR HD, the SRO, and even the RCR just have more window available, so it's easier to keep track of where the dot is at. All right, so the moment we've all kind of waited for of what is the preference. I would say for a sporting pistol, the SRO is probably still my pick. But for a defensive pistol, while I really like the enclosed emitter of the RCR, I think I prefer the RMR HD. I think it's a more shootable sight picture. The circle dot really brings a lot to the picture. It's easier to keep the dot on the screen. I get the point, like if you are going to be carrying in like a duty holster or something like that, probably the RCR makes the most sense. But for a civilian in a concealed carry context, I think that the RMR HD probably provides capability that clearly the old RMR doesn't. The sight picture keeps track of the sight a little bit better. I would say it's just the best sight picture, you know, based on the window size, how it relates to the co-witness and all that. So if you've got questions, sound off in the comments below. As always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.